And welcome to SCW Live. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Got quite a few topics I want to discuss on today's show, including why I think Day One from WWE is actually a great idea and potentially more debuts coming to AEW. I've got a question as well. This is a Q&A open format as well. So do throw some questions in. I will give you a shout out and we'll answer along as well. But before we get started, it's time to hit the intro. Feels like the first day of school once again. It's been so long since I've done one of these, so I hope I remember what I'm actually doing. But yeah, if it's your first time watching, please like the video. It really helps the channel out as well. Please share the video with a friend and let them know that SCW is here. And of course, if it's your first time watching, subscribe as well and hit the bell, turn notifications to all, each and every time a new video is released. But enough of me talking, let's get straight into it, shall we then? And I have got my first comment in already because I was going to talk about Hangman Adam Page and Bryan Danielson. The AEW Winter is coming 2021. And yeah, just going to review that match rather than the entire show. But the first comment has come from one Jamie Holmes, who's said, "What's your opinion on Bryan Danielson in AEW so far?" He thinks he's been excellent and he's already making history. He has been time limit jaws of any AEW wrestler, which is very, very true indeed. So thank you for that, Jamie. Personally, for me, I think Bryan Danielson has been a breath of fresh air. It's been amazing to see in All Elite Wrestling. For me personally, Bryan Danielson matches are different every time. I love the intensity. I love the way that he finishes matches with every move. I feel that I can buy into near falls. With a lot of matches you watch and go, well, I know when the finisher hits, that's when it's going to end. You can do 10 somersaults off the top rope and hit a splash, and someone's kicking out with two. Until they have that finisher, that's when there's a chance of it actually ending, unless it's WWE and it's, of course, a schoolboy or a roll-up, depending on what you want to call it. But in this case of AEW and Bryan Danielson, I just love that. I love the fact that each match is different. It feels fresh. It feels exciting. And when you go to this match we had with Hangman Adam Page, I did say in my predictions, I felt a draw was a possibility. Now, I did predict Hangman, so I'm going to say I got the prediction wrong, what I ultimately said, but I did feel the show. And the fact is as well, this plays quite nicely into the narrative in a way, because although you could seem the strongest champion in the world, he didn't lose and he went and wrestled for an hour as well. So that's quite fun and quite interesting. The fact is, Hangman didn't actually win that first match either in All Elite Wrestling as the world champion. That sort of makes you think, well, hang on. Is Hangman going to be where, that story's creeping and that self-doubt? Bryan Danielson can use that to his advantage. He's had this with other wrestlers where he's turned around and said, I'm going to kick your head in, destroyed the Dark Order. He can now play the mind games with Hangman Adam Page. He came in quite good. Yes chance and yes movement going on. I think Bryan Danielson wanted to come away from that. And I think the transition to actually being a heel as well has really, really worked. And I love the way that he transitioned into doing that and actually, calling things like WrestleMania out and beating people in their hometown and stuff like that. I love that vibe that Bryan Danielson has. And to be fair, the fact he's not been wrestling for half of the year, I still think he's in a shout for one of the wrestlers of the year. So that says how good I think Bryan Danielson has been in AEW in a short space of time. But some people were negative about this match because we got it for an hour and we didn't get a result. I thoroughly loved it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved the breakdown of stages, how we, it was sort of that feel, that process. Bryan Danielson, getting the best of that technical sort of masterclass at the start. We got some big moves, some big spots hit where, Hangman was hurt. He was bleeding for a while. And then we got to those near falls and submissions towards the end of the match. And of course, timed so beautifully with a buckshot lariat and just not getting there in time for the pinfall. For me, this was good. I can't wait for the rematch. I don't think we're going to have to wait as long for a rematch as we will with Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega either. That was done just so we could see that match, but there's clearly plans in the works probably for that in probably 6 months, a year from now. One of them with this match, it could be as soon as Battle for the Belts, put a stipulation online, and that way you turn around and say, okay, right, we'll have to wait and see how that's going to be made so it finishes sooner. But at the same time, I do think in my head that, I think Hangman Adam Page will get the win next time round. And I'm looking forward to when that match actually does take place. But no, thank you for that first question, Jamie. And good to discuss a lot of that. So yeah, it's good to get back in, dive straight in. And Jones is with us as well. So welcome back, SCW. Thank you very much, Jonesy. Hope you are keeping then I will come back and talk about the other topics I want to discuss in the video. And I say this will be a shorter video today. This is more of a test as well, because I've not done a live stream for a while. Josie to say, what did you make of the lack of new stars on this week's AEW show? I was hoping for Wyndham. For me personally, I was fine with it. I think more will be on the way very, very soon. My personal opinion, I think that we will get perhaps one, maybe two actually coming in the next. Bring on to this topic, more AEW debuts, Brody King potentially being one of them. He certainly was teased this past week. Malachi Black saying that you're now more than just a king. So yeah, that's clearly the scent there that Brody King is coming in. Rumors are suggesting that the deal was already done once ROH was, going to be taking its break. This was a deal that Tony Khan got done very, very quickly. So for me, in that personal sense, I say that Brody King could debut as soon as next week. I wouldn't be surprised. And if you have debuts every single week, I think that's quite disappointing. As much as you want Wyndham, I would like Wyndham in AEW. King, I think that's the immediate one. He's a PWG tag team champion as well, Malachi Black. So they already have this House of Black thing going on in other promotions. So now to see that happen here will be really exciting. And Adam Cole, Bebe, as well, saying that he's got a Christmas present for next week on the show. Could that have been a contract in his hand for Kyle O'Reilly? Or is it simply just a symbol to say that Kyle O'Reilly is coming in and will be aligned with the elite? That will be very exciting to see. I think it's something that definitely has got as well as that, also, I'm asked by Supersonic what my thoughts on Grayson Waller attacking Johnny Wrestling. Loved it, thought it was absolutely awesome. I think that personally for me, Grayson Waller is really standing out in the last couple of weeks. I didn't like him when I first saw him, and I thought it was being presented as a babyface. Really didn't match, really didn't suit. Now, for me personally, this works really, really well. He's despised. He's obnoxious. He's someone that the locker room doesn't even want to be dressing with. He's someone that he's the most hated guy in NXT right now. I love the fact that he attacked Johnny Wrestling. I love the way that he brought Vic Joseph into it as well. Sense of realism. There's something about Grayson Waller now that really, really clicks and really works. And LA Knight as well is a feud he's got going on right now. And LA Knight, I think, can work really well as a babyface. We've seen the heel thing. It's been done in other promotions. I really liked LA Knight, or Eli Drake if you want, in NWA as a babyface. I personally feel that looking at this, LA Knight can go forward as a top babyface in NXT. He's got the Rock sort of style on the mic. So yeah, personally for me, I love the way that this is going about. And Grayson Waller was done very, very well. And of course, Johnny Wrestling as well could be someone that could come back into the mix at some stage with NXT. We're not so sure 100%. I mean, he has come out and said Bryan Danielson is the best wrestler in the world and wants to mix it up with him again. Has also said, chant my name everywhere. You never know, I might show up. Feels like Gargano could be going elsewhere. Maybe he's another one that could be going to AEW in time. But certainly the door is open. But Grayson Waller, for me, really becoming a standout in NXT. He's someone that I despise, but hey, I meant to despise him in this role. And you have to look at War Games. I mean, that cage spot was pretty darn sick, wasn't it? So, yeah, that's going to be something that's going to be going on for many years to come when they go to show clips of previous NXT War Games. Let's go on to the other topic I want to talk about very quickly just before we go back into the other questions, because other ones are diving in. Hope the connection is doing well. Let me know if it for a point earlier, but hopefully it will continue now going forward if it's better. Day one is a great idea, in my opinion, and I'm going to express why for a few minutes, because WWE are putting this pay-per-view on for the first time ever. We've not had a pay-per-view on January 1st for a long time. I think early January, we used to have New Year's Revolution. We used to have the Elimination Chamber. I thought it was pretty cool back in the day. I think it was like the mid-2000s when we had that for a couple of years. And, we now got where it's January 1st. And this is why I think in particular it's a genius idea. What do you do on January 1st? Is anyone like me who has, we go through New Year's Eve, we party till midnight, sometimes later, granted. I certainly will be this year as well. And, you get to the point the next day, you're knackered. Everywhere's closed. You don't go out. You don't do anything. It's kind of that day at home. You could be with your family or your wife or kids or whatever. And you sit there and say to yourself, right, okay, soccer fan as well. Usually there's a lot of soccer, professional football, Premier League, depending on how you want to look at it. And you've got that in the daytime. In the nighttime, yeah, what is there to do? There's not a lot. Day one fits the narrative nicely because in December, it's a busy month, isn't it? And I don't think that TLC pay-per-views have done great for the longest time now. So I do feel as well, what's the last December pay-per-view that's had anything me? So for me personally, I think day one is a great idea. If you look at the card that's being put together as well, in WWE terms, this is stacked. They want this to become a yearly tradition, a yearly thing. They're trying to make this a big deal. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Why do it at the Royal Rumble? You don't need to, because that's a big enough pay-per-view. The Rumble matches sell that show on its own. Why not have this as a big marquee match on what's arguably a B pay-per-view, but you deal. So you put a big match like that on day one. We've got the Fatal 4-Way. Yes, the storyline was more triple threat going on. I know with KO, Seth Rollins, and Big E, but now Bobby Lashley's in the mix. I'm not complaining. I think it's a great idea for a Fatal 4-Way for the top stars on Raw. Fatal 4-Ways, I've had some exciting ones in the past. You've got SummerSlam 2017, Backlash 2007. You know, I think that this could be a really exciting match put together. And I mean, there's other matches also added for the card. I'll ignore Edge and Miz, but it's been built okay for what it is. But for me, simple one for Edge. And obviously, Edge a big deal to be on this pay-per-view as well. Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. I believe we're going to get Toni Storm and Charlotte Flair probably on this show as well. And we've got the New Day and the Usos. So it's looking like a stacked card. I think it's a great idea. Like I say, for the idea of January 1st, you feel a bit lost in no man's land anyway. So it's good to have that thing to be excited about in the night. If I'm not mistaken as well, it's a Saturday night as well. It's a good chance to experiment these WWE pay-per-views on Saturday evenings instead of Sunday. It's great for people that have to stay up till stupid o'clock in the morning to watch it. You now have Sunday to recover rather than thinking, hang on, I'm not going to be feeling good in work on Monday. So that's great for people, say, in the UK and across Europe. So for me, this ticks a lot of the boxes. I'm really happy about it. I think it's going to be awesome. But what do you reckon? Let me know in the comments. We're going to discuss it more during this live stream. But personally, as I say, I think it's a great idea. TLC for me, it was one of those gimmick pay-per-views that I just felt like had lost its steam. I want TLC to mean something. I want a feud to build in and around it. We have Money in the Bank halfway through the year anyway, which, you know, if they really want to, they can add chairs and tables to the match anyway. So, you know, we have it once already. And the last time I can really remember TLC as a pay-per-view even meaning anything, I think Dolph Ziggler beat John Cena back in 2012. I'm struggling to think of a really meaningful TLC show where you can turn around and say at the end of it, whoa, that was a big deal. WWE tried last year with The Fiend and Randy Orton, but for me, that didn't connect. I didn't think much of that particular story, but then that's my personal opinion. Let's go back into the chat, shall we, and see what people have got to say. Unfortunately, I have been told that the connection has been lagging a little bit. Let me know if that continues in another 5 minutes or so, and if so, then I'll just last thing I want to do is waste anybody's time, and I do apologize. It doesn't tell me it's lagging my side, so that's would be a bit of a concern on that case. But we will go and we'll see now what other questions have come in, because I want to make sure that everyone's questions do get read out. Silk here says, welcome back, fella. Thank you very much. Just wants my opinion on a fault that Silk had on NXT. Is him, or does it for the crowd feel like they're all plants? Like the reaction we got for crowd, does it seem legit to me? A great point, because you can apply for it on Facebook. You've seen that the last few weeks with NXT. If you want to be a part of that, sit in the crowd. I mean, I was in New York, was nowhere near Florida where they do NXT, so I can't really advocate for that. But it does feel like at the moment that a lot of the crowd that goes there really seems invested. Are they going to what WWE wants? I'm not sure. I mean, the thing is, when we had that hit row guy that was really annoying all the time, that was really off-putting. So, I mean, I think WWE don't want to have their crowd really off-putting. It's hard to say, but for me, I would say I'm going to try and remain positive with it and say that I hope not. And I hope that people that go there are looking to have a good time, because that's what it's all about. I went to the Survivor Series. Some will say that was not the best pay-per-view in the world. That was not the best show on a build-up. But you know what? I went there. I had the best time. I thought it was awesome. I was chanting along with people, along with matches. I thought it was fun to watch. And, you know, I got in the moment. I think as well, there's a difference when you watch it on your TV screen to actually being at home. When I was actually there, I found myself cheering for people I wouldn't usually cheer. I was actually popping for moves because I'm seeing them in front of me. Someone jumping over the top rope in a flip, or a moonsault from Charlotte, even though she kind of missed it with Becky. It still looked really impressive watching it live. And I think there's a real difference to that. And I think it does gauge a different form of emotion. So I'm hoping it's legit. But hey, it's WWE. You wouldn't be surprised. And it's not the biggest crowd in the world, is it? Jones says, what's the hype regarding Cora Jade? Not really seen anything to shout about. Interesting. I think WWE have done a great job in NXT in particular of building her up with the War Games match. I liked the storyline element of it to try and build her up. Fans at that time, plant or not, really seem to get behind Cora Jade. She's definitely green still when it comes to actually winning a championship. She's nowhere near that sort of area. But I would turn around and say that with a hype, I would say that they built up really well, and she's racking up wins. If you're getting wins all of a sudden you can turn around and say, hang on, there's someone we can potentially get behind. Now, I understand perhaps maybe you might turn around and say to me, quite a few of them were roll-ups. Yeah, that's true. But you know what? You're beating Dakota Kai. She's beaten Mandy Rose. She was the winner, arguably, in War Games. So in booking terms, there is a reason to get some hype there. But at this particular moment, in my personal opinion, I think she's just been built as a challenger, and they're building her as a challenger pretty well because she's winning matches. It's not as if she's someone that's been losing each and every week. She's actually won the majority of her matches. And the thing that I would say, one thing that's good as well about her, which is not in ring, her gimmick is different to what I can see around in WWE. And I think that that sort of skater kind of gimmick thing, it definitely connects with a core of the audience. And I think that she could be a real sentimental favorite with time going by, and particularly if she ever gets a chance to go on Raw or SmackDown yet. She's got plenty of time in NXT. She's still very, very young. I think she's the youngest ever in War Games. If I'm not mistaken, she's like 20 years old. So time's really on her side. And I think probably that's the thing people are excited. Young, you've got plenty of time behind you for WWE to get in pole position and time to be a multi-time champion as well. Cora Jade, this time 2-3 years from now, could be a really big deal. And then maybe we'll say, well, looking back at how War Games was, how she's been, that would be what the hype was all about. Silk says he would love to see Bandito in AEW, as would I. I mean, of course, it's part of the original All In show. So for me, I think there would be a great natural fit if they were to do that. Certainly would be okay with that. James Holmes says as well, do you think that it seemed too long ago that he was jobbing in the mid card and now he's working with Brock Lesnar and wrestling for the Universal title? Well, that's the key. That happened to Cesaro, didn't it? Cesaro certainly was one of those that was, signed the new contract, had the big match with Roman, and then, well, there you go. He's lost. He's now. Now Jeff Hardy's left the company. Cesaro didn't have much going on. He was in a program with Ridge Holland, which was really not going anywhere. Sami Zayn, is this going to be the same in 6 months' time? Time will tell, but I've enjoyed Sami Zayn. I love the work that he does. I love the gimmick of Sami Zayn as well. So he's someone I want to see remain in WWE, a mid-carder or not, jobbing every week or not. It fits the Sami Zayn character and the conspiracy. I'm fine if he stays, but of course, if he was to go and be El Generico in AEW or somewhere else, that would be pretty awesome to see as well, because it's a dynamic that I've not seen El Generico as much before. I knew of Sami Zayn first in NXT. So for me personally, it would be exciting to see what that would bring also. But I think he's going to stay in WWE. It's looking very likely, especially now KO has re-signed as well, which of course I did a little short video for that yesterday, which of course wasn't live, so that definitely wasn't lagging. We'll go to our next comment then, which will come from Jonesy. What's the plan once Roman beats Brock? If you believe the rumor mill, this is rumor, so take a pinch of salt. This is still predicted to be the WrestleMania main event, so this still has legs. If we're going to get a big finish at this pay-per-view day one as well, which again, I think adds to the spice of what makes this show, we need to see this again next year. Now, are we talking a big ending to day one, like, Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor? That would be disastrous. Don't want to see something like that. I want to see a real good twist here. And I think the Paul Heyman storyline is going to be, in fact, actually, Silk's even asked that here. So we're going to actually combine the two questions in one here. I would say that the big finish should be to do with Paul Heyman. I think that Paul Heyman should turn on Roman Reigns. So we get the big, whoa, and I think just as we think then that Brock Lesnar is going to win the match, it's a swerve. It's to the point that you go, hang on, he was with Roman all along. This was to trick Brock to think he was with Brock. It's with the championship. You've got a big finish like that. And all of a sudden, Brock knows, I have no advocate. I've got no one protecting for me. Yes, Brock Lesnar knows he's going to fight this alone. It's back like 2002 when Paul Heyman aligned with the Big Show. Paul Heyman needs to remain with the head of the table. So that's the way I would do the big finish. As for once Roman beats Brock, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, there are people like Drew McIntyre on there. Sheamus could always turn babyface, I guess, and do that match there. There are other superstars that could be someone that could fill that spot, or you could even build someone up the card. Who knows? Maybe Sami Zayn signs the contract and gets a proper go at the championship. We'll have to wait and see. But for me personally, if I had to predict, I think in the summer it will be Drew McIntyre, and I think eventually that is when Drew McIntyre will win the championship from Roman Reigns. Jamie Holmes says, while Big E is likely to retain the WWE Championship at day one, if he loses it, do you think it will be to Kevin Owens, who recently signed with WWE? I would hope so. But I do think that the ultimate big match here is going to be Big E versus Seth Rollins. That could be at the Rumble. It could even be dragged out to Mania. One way that you could do that, and this is just a bit of fantasy booking here, just because it's an opportunity to talk about this like this. Why not do what they did back in the day with ECW? They had the ECW WWE style on the Tuesdays where they had like a fatal five-way. Someone got eliminated. It became a fatal four-way, triple threat, then the singles match to get the Ultimate Champion. If they could do something like that where, I don't know, say Bobby Lashley is ruled out here, then we get to where, it's them, Big E, Seth Rollins, KO. That would be good for the triple threat. Then ultimately get to Big E versus Seth. There is also another opportunity, though. If he was to lose the title at day one, like you're suggesting, KO would be a great one because, hey, he's now meant to be one of the higher paid people in the company. And of course, he's done what's best for his family. So I'm very happy for KO to stay in WWE. But I would turn around and say that someone like Seth Rollins or KO, who's meant to be the ultimate one to take on Big E later down the line, win that championship here because then Big E could be screwed out of it. Big E wins the Rumble, build the match for WrestleMania. That's probably the other method of how you can do it. But for me personally, I at the moment expect Big E will retain, but we'll have to wait and see how it will go down. There's still plenty of time for me to change that. And of course, there will be a predictions video as we get closer to the time. Still says, can we see Kevin Owens being rewarded for his loyalty and re-sign with WWE, another run with the top belt, where he's not forced to drop it to Goldberg? I hope so. Like I say, even if I believe that Seth Rollins will be the one to win it now and then him and Big E have the program, I think KO deserves that run at the top at some point. Hopefully at some point this year would be great. Like I said earlier in this video, you sign with the company, you get your championship match, you lose, oh, you're back in the mid card. That would just be awful. And I think KO, for me, he deserves so much more and so much better. He deserves to be one of the top guys, and he's had that opportunity with this, refreshment of character on Raw. It's been really refreshing to see KO. Even I was frustrated sitting in the Barclays Center and seeing him just walk out. For me, that was the me because I was really keen to see KO live. But at the same time, I love the way they've done with the character. It worked me really well on that particular evening. I hope he wins the championship at some point, and I hope it's the WWE Championship because then he would have won both belts. That would have made a lot of sense. Supersonic says, will we see some returns in January, like Ali? Is Ali injured or off telly at the minute? I've not noticed that if he's been away, which is pretty bad. Oscar, Alexa Bliss, and Bailey. I don't know how long Oscar and Bailey will come back. I do expect that come to the Royal Rumble, yes, we'll get returns. I think particularly with those three women, definitely. Not sure the situation with Mustafa Ali, if he's not on TV, if maybe he's injured or something. But if he is injured, then hopefully he will make a return around there. The Royal Rumble season, you need 30 people to fill up a Royal Rumble. The women are lacking more than the men in that department. So I could see all three of those returning if they're fit and ready to go, which I'm guessing Alexa Bliss certainly is. Oscar perhaps will be as well. I have Bailey currently as my Royal Rumble winner coming in. I think potentially she could even beat the number 30, but we'll have to wait and see how that will go down and when it will. Silk says, Cora Jade gives me young Paige vibes. That's a really good, interesting shout as well in comparison. I actually had the same with Gigi Dolan, actually, as well, if I'm being brutally honest. But that could be a thing that connects people. If they see another character that's in there as well, it's kind of interesting with how that will be, why people will connect with it. So, yeah, but Jones has actually said he's got a different reason of this with Cora Jade. He says, how they push Cora Jade and then release Frankie makes no sense. Frankie is twice the rest of Cora. Well, experience, of course, and so Frankie Monet or Ty Valkyrie should be. But WWE have this method. They want to push people that are of a younger age. We've seen all these people that have been signed in this last week. They're all like 20 years old. It's like a different way. They don't want people that's on the indies anymore. They want to actually groom and make their own wrestlers rather than saying, right, okay, this person came and wrestled for 20 years in front of people in bingo halls or in front of like 100 people. They want to have people that have not done this in front of have been groomed by WWE. I know Cora Jade actually, I feel I've seen her do like the sort of backyard wrestling. She did like a picture on Twitter, it's probably on Instagram as well, where she'd done like she was bleeding in like this sort of hardcore environment. But she's still very, very young and she has a long way to go. And I think WWE will say in time-wise, you have a lot to invest in that. Yes, Ty Valkyrie is now, and you could have argued she should have gone to Raw or SmackDown. I think that's kind of where you would go with that. But to release either of them is not right in my opinion. But that's WWE's method. They are thinking age, time, and potential what they can do. Cora Jade, if 20 years old, 21, whatever she is, they can get a good 10, 15 years out of her. NXT, if you're not going to move to Raw or SmackDown and push her now, well, they obviously didn't have any plans for her. It'd be a waste as well for her to go to Raw and SmackDown and just sit in catering. So for me, I mean, of course, it sucks for her. But as a fan of Ty Valkyrie, wherever she ends up and when she comes back to whichever promotion she decides to go to, she's going to be wrestling. She's going to be treated as a big deal. It's a shame it didn't work out in WWE. But say I get my wish, she goes back to Impact Wrestling. She could confront the winner of Deonna Purrazzo and Mickie James at Hard to Kill. That'd be pretty awesome to see. Get her back in the title picture there. That'd be pretty fun. Will we see a new stable in 2020? I can't tell you who it would be right now, but I would expect that WWE eventually do throw stables together. They like to do that sort of thing here and there. So yeah, it'd be interesting how they do it. Maybe some makes sense as well on SmackDown right now, or have someone take over on Raw. But of course, that was seemingly the problem with the Hurt Business originally. The Hurt Business is still a thing, right? Because well, Bobby Lashley had to do all that work on Raw. There was no help from Cedric and Shelton anywhere. But hey, who am I to complain? Elisa Stansbury, she can't stand Becky Lynch or Seth Rollins, doesn't like him on TV. Unfortunately, we disagree on that one. I'm enjoying both of their work right now. I think that the heel stuff is working for them. Seth Rollins, to me, is the best Seth has been for quite a while. I didn't like when these sort of characters where he was taking people's eyes out. Now he's just absolutely obnoxious. And yeah, I usually find him quite funny. And to be fair, that suit game, it's edgy, it's strong. It's downright ridiculous, really. But you know what? He's got a lot of guts to go out wearing after what he wears. So props to him. I must admit, I'm sadly for you, I disagree. Joseph says, and at what point did we drop the ball with Rhea Ripley, and can she recover? Interesting question. I think the loss this week, now people will say, and I agree with them, Rhea Ripley should never lose in that quick time. Totally agree with it. But what I will say is that I believe that this is part of a storyline. The Zelina Vega and Carmella storyline right now is purely to eventually get Nikki Ash to be without Rhea Ripley, I think. And I think Rhea Ripley is growing, she's patient with Nikki Ash, believes in her right now, but Nikki keeps screwing up. She doesn't keep losing matches. She screwed up on Raw, cost Rhea Ripley a match in very quick fashion. This could come to bite Nikki in the bum towards Royal Rumble season. Rhea Ripley can come back as a heel, strong heel as well. She can start beating the baby faces, build her back up, perhaps as a contender for the Rumble as well. And maybe we could get Rhea Ripley against Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. Just throwing us an idea out there. It's a match I did for my fantasy booking WrestleMania card predictions. It's something I'd like to see. But hey, we'll have to wait and see how it will go down. But I think she can recover. It's not finished for Rhea yet. She has had a questionable time on Raw so far. I would have liked to have seen her on SmackDown, but I think a heel turn right now, and a definitive one. She was kind of like this confusing face and heel character before. Make her heel, make her dominant, destroy Nikki Ash, put her to beat people every single week on the build to the Rumble. That could be a way to get her back in the right direction, and then push her that match with Bianca WrestleMania. For me, it makes the most sense. And Alicia also said, did you see Roman Reigns' new t-shirts, the new needle mover t-shirts? I did. WrestleMania UK actually shared that just before I came online here, and I've got to say, not personally my favorite one. Yeah, I will leave it at that. Really, there's some great Bloodline t-shirts, but that certainly isn't one. I will acknowledge it, but not acknowledge it for the right reasons. It lasts long until WrestleMania. You know what? Possibly. I don't think it will go that far if you ask me now, but why not? If Roman and Brock can go that length of time, then why can't this feud go that long? If they're looking to put Sonya Deville back in the ring eventually, perhaps not in the short term, could be interesting. I think that Sonya Deville will put Naomi as the #1 entrant in the Royal Rumble. And I think there could even be a promise here of like Sonya Deville even saying, I'll be in the match, tease that she's #2, but bring someone out to take the place and say, I'm in later in the match or something like that. Just really throw this storyline together because I'm really enjoying it. I think it's been really well put together. It did go a bit cold at one point, but it's warming up again, and it's warming up to Rumble season. And yeah, I really think they could really utilize the Royal Rumble with this feud and then break out towards. Probably ends up being a fast lane feud, though, if you ask me of where I think it would end. But WrestleMania certainly could be, but if it did, I imagine it would be a kickoff because it's definitely going to be a championship match. And I think if Naomi was to get on the main card, she'd have to be in the SmackDown Women's Championship match. But that's just my opinion. Josie, will WWE book a solid, well-out fought card for WrestleMania rather than the nonsense like Braun versus Shane again? Do you want the answer that you want to hear or the answer that I think? I think it's probably the best way to go with it. Look, WWE, I think will have a plan for WrestleMania. Whether it's a plan we like or not, whether things will create change or not, we'll have to wait and see this year than last year, because definitely that was not the best built WrestleMania in history. To be fair, though, the card and show itself was pretty darn good when it came about. And even though we say about the nonsense of Braun versus Shane, other stuff like Bad Bunny was pretty darn awesome. So there were some hit and misses with it, but I do hope, and it feels that WWE have got a plan in place. If they know that it's Roman versus Brock, which is speculation at this point of WrestleMania, they've got a main event to at least work with, and then an undercard to work with as well. If Bayley does come back, say it's a match versus Becky Lynch, you've got another main event for another night. It's just putting the rest of the pieces together for the rest of the card. But as long as they don't leave it to the last week or bring Shane McMahon in, I think we're good. Ali is on maternity. But thank you for clarifying that for me, Silk. Well, then that's certainly a potential. And the Royal Rumble will be a good surprise entrance. So yeah, that definitely. Thank you for letting me know about that. I was not aware of that. As I say, I've been away for a while, so I've not kept up with every bit of detail while I was on my honeymoon. But good shout with GD. Thank you, Silk, as well. Jofo in the ring is in the house. Thank you for checking that stream. Hope you're doing well, my man. It's good to have you here. If you've got a question, please feel free to get involved. And as well as that, we've got Jonesy as well. It says, what was the good and the bad retribution, and what point did the Angle Group? The good was the chainsaw, that SmackDown. That was the good. The bad was probably everything that followed that. I would say it didn't go well very quickly with Retribution. I think that was the where it failed so much, because from that point very early on, we were like, yeah, it just didn't happen for Retribution from any point. From the point of where they were like young juveniles breaking a window, when they were doing the PC shows, and they were sort of running away like school kids. That didn't work. Then they got contracts, and that just didn't work with the characters. And then they revealed their faces down to 5 of them. Then Mercedes Martinez went back to NXT. Then they were losing to the Hurt Business very, very quickly. That's pretty much the bad here. There was no reason to believe in this group. You mentioned Cora Jade earlier on. Believe in her. Retribution, there was never a reason to believe in them. And I think at the same time they were doing the Raw Underground stuff as well, which I think people were not really involved with very much either. So there was just not a lot to enjoy around that time in WWE. Silk says, all WWE latest recruitments have been straight out of high school, college. Your thoughts on the recruitment like NFL, NBA, MLB? I think it's great. Personally, it's a different method. WWE, I think this is an old school method. There's lots of people that have played NFL previously. I mean, Goldberg was one of them. I believe Baron. So many of them back in the day. And I'm trying to go back to like the 90s or whatever, but loads of NFL players transitioned and came to football. I mean, Moose is one of them now, actually, as well, and that comes to mind also. So why not? I mean, they're athletes to begin with, so they've got something about them already. WWE can groom them to the way that they want to be. They put them out in the ring, and you have got to look. Someone like Bianca Belair was like kind of like a track and field, wasn't she? And you see how well that's turned out. So, like I say, it's different than going to turn around and say someone's wanted to do this all their life. It's great that someone's wanted to do it all their life. Look, I'd love to be a writer for WWE. It was something I wouldn't say I would want to do it all my life, but it's something I'd love to. I think it would be a really fun thing to do. It's not as if WWE are looking at these videos and going, reach out and say, you come here and you can come and write our shows for us. People have got to be groomed and right for doing it. For someone like on a writing perspective, you've got to have experience in television shows, something that a big WWE fan who may have great ideas doesn't do. Where you look at this, yeah, it's great. Someone's been on the indies 15, 20 years. I hope they get their break. Don't get me wrong. But if they're not the right fit, or they're not what they want, or if they're WWE feel we can't market these for the longest time, the roster's pretty old. And AEW have a young roster, people that can groom. Someone like MJF, you can get 15, 20 years out of the guy if you really want to. And that's what they're looking to do right now. They're going for people that are athletes, which is kind of like the old school method of finding wrestlers. And they're looking to groom them nice and early, nice and young, and get real mileage out of the talents. Because then if those talents do work out, then my goodness, you've got people for life. It feels like they were WWE 15, 20 years. WrestleManias are sorted for like the next decade. So I think that's the method and why they're going with this recruitment way. What pay-per-view will Wyndham turn up at WrestleMania or an AEW show? Do you know what? It's not a guarantee he comes back to wrestling, to be brutally honest. If no one's going to pay him the money he wants and he doesn't want to go back to WWE, then there's not a guarantee he comes back. But if I had to put my money on it, I would say AEW. I think that makes the most sense. I'd love to even see him in Impact. I know that probably would say, well, look, Bray Wyatt an Impact for me, or Wyndham an Impact. It's a major step down for someone of his potential. He was one of the biggest just raise the stock of Impact. That's why that would be good. But I'd say AEW, if I had to predict anywhere, I don't think he comes back to WWE. It's a personal opinion at this point. You watch, could be one of those 22 times you look back at a video and go, got that well wrong, didn't I? Jones also goes on to say, when Alexa comes back, will she be with Lily? And if so, will it work? I don't think so. I think that was written off, that character. I think we'll get a transitional character that will be similar to, sort of in between what we've had of Alexa and a goddess. It will be an involvement of the character. We will move on. I think they wrote that character away. So that's why I think, no, we won't get that there. Oscar has a rotator cuff injury, Steve. Well, it depends how long she's had that for and how long she's out for. If the diagnosis is longer, then of course it may be. But I'm just saying, Rumble season, they'll need their women back. And if Oscar is good and ready to go, I think she'll be back. But we'll have to wait and see if she's good to go. Same with Bayley. If she's not fit and ready in time, of course she won't be there. Alexa Bliss, I'm pretty sure from what I've heard in the rumor mill, Tom Colohue has been very on the point with Alexa Bliss and said she's ready to go. So yeah, I mean, Tom's been nailing them out of the park with his sources of late. So yeah, I would say that I think Alexa Bliss for sure will be back. If the others are good to go, they'll be back in. But of course, if they're not ready, then yeah, we won't see them yet. Alicia says Liv Morgan deserves to win the Royal Rumble over Bayley, in her opinion. I don't see another 4 horses women win the Royal Rumble. Well, I mean, the things they don't need to. That's the thing. Liv Morgan's a new star if she wins the Royal Rumble. So for me, she's definitely someone I'd say there's potential there, and I would be fully on board if Liv Morgan deserves to win the Royal Rumble and does win the Royal Rumble. I love how far along she's come in the last sort of few months. It's great to see that since Money in the Bank, how is now. This is fantastic. Is she ready for the Raw Women's Championship at this point? In my opinion, no. But could she be ready by WrestleMania? Yeah, she could be. Maybe that's the time. Maybe that's the right place. Or maybe it's Money in the Bank this year. She wins that there, and then she wins it before the end of 2022. I think she'll be a champion next year, for sure. I just don't know when. But potential, she's definitely a favourite to win the Royal Rumble. And like you say, 4 horsemen, we've seen it. But at this particular time, I think with Bayley and Becky, that's one I don't really remember seeing. So that's why I think that one has potential and could have legs. What's the main event on the Raw side for WrestleMania? If I had to predict right now, like I said, I've said Becky and Bayley, I think will be the women's, and I think would be the main event of night 1. And I do think that Big E and Seth Rollins would be the other one. But hey, I could be wrong. It's just, this is very early days. If it was me booking it, I would do Seth Rollins versus Damian Priest. That would be my booking. But hey, you've probably seen my WrestleMania video already of how I booked the match card together. But hey, yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, what you'd like to see as the Raw side of the main event. But just quickly before you go, before I get asked about SmackDown, yes, Roman and Brock. For the SmackDown Women's Championship, probably Charlotte versus Sasha or Charlotte versus Naomi. I personally would like the triple threat. Let's have a small break. Much better. When you saw Survivor Series live in person, was there anyone more over with the fans that surprised you? A great question. I would turn around and say, I'm not that I was surprised by it, but the Usos were so over. It was unbelievable. Like the place, the feeling changed when the Usos came out. Now, one thing you wouldn't realize at home compared to being in the arena as well, the music for us wasn't bang on point. Fully connecting for the first portion of the show. And I can tell you that by the time we got past, I think it was by the men's Survivor Series match, that the music was definitely full on surround. It felt really loud, clear. It was not as clear as it was before, whatever the issue may have been. But by the time the Usos came out, the energy with that song, and people were going mad for it. And there was chants with the Usos before the show even started. The Bloodline were massively over. Of course, you got your traditional woos, you got your AEW chants, you know, but the Bloodline in particular were massively over, and the Usos in particular. And yeah, they had an impressive performance on the night as well. But no surprise as well, RK Bro were quite popular also. Just as a slight side note from a question, because you spoke to me about this off camera, so I'm just going to answer it on camera as well, is that who impressed me as well, which, you know, when I was there live at the show, with Randy Orton and Bobby Lashley. Now, my reasoning for it is when you watch those guys on TV, you might just get the cameras that the things they want you to see, like, you know, with the rest locks or whatever. But there's small details in movement and timing and stuff like that. You can just tell that and everything they did it just was perfectly timed. It meant something. It really elevated and added to their matches, and particularly with Randy Orton, the timing of when he was on the floor. We were all chanting Randy sleeping because he was meant to be out of the match for a while. And of course, as soon as that happens, he pops himself back. It was just these little minor details. When he comes in, does his little moves in the match as well. The RKO to finish the match as well. Those little touches just made you could step. There's a reason why this guy's been at the top. And same with Lashley. He was just a dominant monster up until the point that he was eliminated. Was it just me or you shocked that that Braun has gone to AEW? I believe you mean he does say not AEW, ROH. Sorry there. Sorry about that, Jonesy. I should look further down the chat there. But yeah, ROH, it did surprise me, particularly because of funding. That was the main thing that really surprised me with that one. I kind of thought to myself, well, ROH are stopping because of money issues, and yet you get Braun Strowman in, who I'm sure his price has dropped, but damn, the guy reason why he's not turned up in other promotions as of yet. I'm really excited about that stable, though. The EC3 one with the Control Me narrative, Braun Strowman, Killer Cross, and what's meant to be Wesley Blake is exciting. You put that stable in any promotion, that could be something somewhere. There could be like a main event stable somewhere, and that definitely would push someone like EC3 a lot higher up the card as well. So yeah, interested in that. But yeah, I was majorly surprised, just to really shortly answer that question. So, if MJF was to resign with AEW in 2024, would this be the turning point each company's status? Don't get me wrong, WWE could offer a lot of money, and this then would make money. But would this then make AEW the place to be? Well, that's the thing. If he wants to re-sign rather than resign, with AEW, I think it's a big talking point. It's a big statement, yeah, because it says, well, look, I have the opportunity to go for the money elsewhere, and I'm staying put. Or choosing not to let their contracts, go. This is someone that apparently they want and TV networks want. And MJF says, look, I'm staying put in AEW. Yeah, that for me is a big thing. It's a big statement. Doesn't necessarily move as Roman Reigns' t-shirt. Is it a needle mover? No, not necessarily. But fans of the place to be and the place to watch, this would keep AEW with that momentum. If MJF goes to WWE, he becomes the biggest heel. If he's even more a heel with AEW, because they love him deep down. But if he was to leave AEW to make this big way he is, to go to WWE, the heat that he would get, and the fact is then to do that thing in WWE. But I just don't think you get the same creative freedom in WWE. That's why I hope he stays in AEW. But yeah, MJF is going to do what MJF is going to do to be the biggest heel possible. And of course, WWE will offer a lot of money. Would it be enough for him to listen? Joe Night fun show certainly was. I couldn't turn around and say to you that I have a distinct memory off the top of my head right now with Shotgun Saturday Night, but I suppose the Headbangers are the first that come to my mind. Is that random? You can tell me if that's random or not. For me personally, I'll just say that it was a fun show back in the day. It was like one of them fast hours of TV. You get a little bit of recap, if I'm not mistaken, from Raw back in those days, and of course you'd always get some good matches in there. Probably like your Darren Drostovs, your Prince Alberts, and people like that would get some TV time, and definitely would help build for those people to get then onto Raw to then build themselves further up the card. So yeah, I mean, for me, I remember it being a fun show, but I couldn't tell you and say there's one big standout moment. But Josie, if you've got one, please let me know in the comments. I'd be really intrigued to know what would be your favorite Shotgun Saturday Night moment. Last couple of questions. If you've got any more, now's the time to throw it in. But we'll be wrapping things up in a few minutes' time from now. See. Babyface Raw wish Bianca Belair's heel turn. She needs a heel turn. So now that's interesting because actually going back to the Survivor Series again there when I was there in the Barclays, I really felt like that Bianca Belair was proper over as a babyface. Now there was one person behind me that was not happy with Bianca Belair. Probably is on your side of things here, but I just felt the way she carried herself in the match as well. I really enjoyed how she was, and for me, I think Bianca Belair has got the rumblings to be a top babyface. The reason that maybe, and tell me if I'm wrong by saying this, that you may feel that is she's been in and around the top quite a lot. Take her out Aaron for a while. Do drop. Hopefully, going to be Piper Niven soon in 2022. But let's see if a match like I said there with a Rhea Ripley, that would be good, and then we could see where we could go from there. Like you say, you have some top baby faces there. Would we need Bianca to turn? I don't know. I can see Liv Morgan being third in the pecking order personally, up until Money in the Bank. That's my feeling and perspective on things. And I mean, hey, Bailey might still be a tweener because Bianca and Bailey have unfinished business, so that would be interesting to see as well. Martin Career says, hello, I hope you're doing well. Quick question. Has the IC title booking been terrible since WrestleMania? Great question. Yes. Yes, because Apollo Crews as the champion for me didn't really work, didn't connect that well. And also Nakamura, look, don't get me wrong, darn it, I love an entrance. I love that entrance and I loved watching it live. And Pat McAfee on the table as well was freaking amazing. But yeah, at the same time, I would try and say that to change soon just to give it a bit of momentum as well. But yeah, it's interesting to see how it will be going forward. But who would you like to see as the next IC champion? Because for me, I'm not entirely sure who it should be at this particular moment. I mean, should it be someone like a Sheamus to carry, you know, a Rich Holland or Cesaro? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what people think would be a good shout and good opportunity. Please, no one say Baron Corbin. Jonesy says that will Julia Hart have a new gimmick now? I'd like to see her to turn see like Two-Face from Batman. That's an interesting comparison there. And you did talk to me about this as well off camera. The idea that she could have a new gimmick and she could perhaps join the House of Black. Love the suggestion. Love the idea of turning on the Varsity. And bless him, he's in over his head. Malachi Black is going to destroy him, and maybe it could be Malachi Black and Brody King against the Varsity Blondes, and that's where Julia Hart turns on them. We could get that sort of transition there. I personally think it'd be cool. I'd love to see it. Julia Hart, it's a cool gimmick that she's got. But probably do more in House of Black right now, so that's why I'd be really a fan of this idea. Joseph also goes and say, watching WCW 96, and it's a great time period, by the way, if anyone hasn't gone and seen it. Is it just me or is Glacier the biggest joke of all time? That took many weeks. I have to agree with you. Everyone moans about Veer Mahan coming to WWE. I think he's probably walking at this point, Veer. Bless him. Someone get him a taxi. No, I mean, all these people that you've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, this has to be the longest. And the thing is, it was promoted on Nitro. For the people that don't know, this was promoted on Nitro for a good, what, 4, 5, maybe even 6 months. Saturday night show or Sunday show pro. Saturday night was the second show at that time for WCW. It wasn't a Thunder at this point. WCW Pro was the last show on a Sunday that probably nobody wanted debut. So yeah, it was a big joke. And the thing is, it doesn't get good for Glenn. Maybe cover your ears for 15 seconds or so don't spoil it for you. But it does get a bit boring for him until Mortis comes in. But of course, then that gets quite fun after. Skeg Vegas wrestling with us now, and of course he's better than you, and you know it. Maxwell J. Freeman is here, and of course from Facebook. And do you know what? When I saw that name at first, I was like, someone's got to be trolling me. Someone has to be. And then I read the message, and then I was like, he just seems such a cool, down to earth dude. And it's a pleasure to talk to you on Facebook. It really, really was. And I thank you for the question. Don't be sorry for being late. It's always available on demand as well. And I had your questions saved as you have put it on here. I will answer it for you now. He says, actually, no, it's not. It's not the question you've asked there. So maybe I'll still save that one for Ask SCW, which will come out on Sunday, if you don't mind. But this one is also regarding ROH. Who do you see going where? Well, I won't do the whole roster. I've got a whole video out of that on YouTube now. And that actually it's probably my highest viewed video ever, actually. So I recommend going and checking it out because it's the whole roster. I can't do everybody off the top of my head, but we mentioned earlier in the video, Brody King, it seems nailed on now. He's going to be going. Will go to AEW. Josh Woods was actually on Dark this week as well. Definitely a keynote, that one there. So perhaps he will be with AEW going forward as well. I can see a few talents going there. I wouldn't be surprised if a Jonathan Gresham going there, but I hope he goes with his wife to Impact Wrestling because Gresham would be awesome to see, but in that environment with the X division as well. But hey, Gresham versus Brian Danielson. I'll leave that there. I need to say more with Gresham. He could go wherever he chooses, really. We know with Jay Lethal already. Bandito was mentioned in this video as well. AEW, I can see that there. I can see quite a few going to NWA as well. The Allure being two of them. Maybe Joe Hendry could be another one there. So there's definitely a lot of talents there that could do that. I think sort of Matt Taven's, Vince could be about to go to Impact Wrestling. It'll be interesting to see how that will play out. And I'd like to see Roxy go over to Impact, fronted as well recently by Deonna Purrazzo as well. So that'd be interesting to see if they could mix it up in an Impact ring at some point in the near future. But yeah, that would be my suggestion there. But I recommend to go and check that video out. Literally, what I'll do is at the end of this video, I'll actually just copy it and put the link in the description of the video so you can go and click it straight from there, which will be probably in less than 10 minutes time. Joseph says that his favourite memory of Shotgun Saturday Night is Michael Colt singing La Macarena song about a midget wrestler, and Jim Cornette and Minnie Vader having a row in the toilet. Wow. If you can let me know what episode that is a Shotgun, I'm going to check that on the network because I do not remember that. I think a lot of people will be checking it out on the network as well because that sounds downright bonkers. But hey, that's the Attitude Era for you in an absolute nutshell, isn't it? Martin Career also says, what do you think of who can get over with fans in 2022 and how will WWE's landscape be this time next year and what do you want to happen? Oh, for me, it sounds an obvious one. I want new stars to be born. I want new champions. I think that a new fresh main event scene would be really, really cool to see. I'm not sure if we're going to entirely get that. I think early doors, I think WWE is going to push the tried and tested, especially around WrestleMania season. That's what I would expect to happen. And I said someone like Liv Morgan to become Raw Women's Champion certainly could happen in 2022. Riddle, I think we'll have a feud with Randy Orton going into WrestleMania. So I think that could push Riddle on, perhaps for Money in the Bank, maybe. Could be a champion towards the end of the year. Damian Priest is another one. So they're people I could see moving themselves up the ladder and becoming champions towards the end of 2022. We've seen it with Big E in 2021. So let's see if that can happen with them as well. Remember, Big E won the Intercontinental Championship on Christmas Day. So anyone at this point that even wins or is in that mid-card area has got time to push themselves high up the ladder between now and then. If you ask me one other thing I want to see, I want AJ Styles to have one last main event run as a babyface to become champion. And now KO is re-signed with the company. Please give him a run as well. Those championship runs sound like a hot potato, don't they? Pretty much. But I'm sure Roman's going to keep it until minimum Money in the Bank. Perhaps maybe even the UK show could be the place he could lose it to if and when that's going to be announced, because that would be a great place for Drew McIntyre to have that match and win the championship. What 5 feuds of WWE and AEW are you eager to see in 2022? But I won't do each, I'll just do 5 in total. I am interested to see where Roman and Brock's going to finish. I've had this idea of how I think it's going to finish, but I'm interested to see where it's going to go. So it is an interesting storyline enough for me anyway. Like I said, Riddle and Randy Orton is one I'm interested in seeing. I really want to see Edge and AJ Styles. That one would really, really invest me. I'm going to do 5 of each. Sorry, I've already done 3 in WWE. Brock and Bobby Lashley, something that needs to happen at some. And I'm going to say Drew McIntyre, John Cena, because Cena's probably going to come back around WrestleMania. I think Drew McIntyre is the right one. Babyface, and you pass the torch over. Drew McIntyre could really do with that W, and that'd be a big moment for him at WrestleMania. So that would be my 5 from WWE. If I had to pick off right now, I didn't even mention Bayley and Becky Lynch. Go on and do 100. But for AEW, we'll see with AEW. I think MJF and Hangman Adam Page definitely is one that definitely screams there. Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, for me, I want to see that go for the championship. And if rumors were believed from a number of months ago, steel cage match for the ladies, and that would be the place to do it. Maybe Revolution. That'd be pretty cool to see. Keith Lee versus anyone. If he joins AEW, Keith Lee versus anyone would be pretty special to see. I want to see Jade Cargill have a run with the TBS Championship, and I'd like to see how that would play out. And if it can happen, I want to see the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, against the Undisputed Elite of Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. And just to close it off, to give a final actual match, I'd like to see Bryan Danielson versus Johnny Gargano. Look, I'm bringing signings in for Tony Khan. I'm making matches. Tony, do you need a booker? Give me a holler if you do. But yeah, finish yourself anyway. Glacier had the hype of Sting versus Hogan and delivered Barry Horowitz. And you know what? Josie wasn't wrong. And we've got a number of comments still here. So I'll tell you what, we are going to just finish off. No more comments off from there. That should take us round to the hour mark. Would you add Buddy Matthews in the House of Black, or is he just New Japan Strong? I'd be happy to see it. I'd even happy to see Buddy Matthews in Impact Wrestling. I think that personally, for me, Buddy, I think has got strong potential, personally, for me to be a top star in certain companies. And yeah, I think he was to go to AEW at this point. I don't think he'd fulfill that potential, but definitely House of Black, it'd make it a lot stronger, wouldn't it? So I'd be quite keen on seeing it. If Buddy Matthews is on my TV screen, I ain't complaining. He says he gets it a lot with the full name. You're not the only one, but hope well. I am very well, and thank you very much, and I appreciate you checking that stream as well. And yeah, MJF, and like I say, he's better than you, ladies and gentlemen, and he knows it as well. So just keep that in mind with Skeg Vegas Wrestling as well. There, Joseph says great stream. Thank you very much, Joseph, for checking out and taking the time out. I really appreciate it. He's also been here from the start, and thank you to everyone that's been here from the start. People have come in halfway through, and yeah, there was a couple of times it lagged. I will say that for the people that stuck with it, and hopefully it's got better as we've gone along, I'm very happy that people have stuck through with me. Will Black Taurus move up the Impact Wrestling? And that's a crying shame because the guy's so damn talented. I just think there's other people in position right now in the X. Doesn't seem to really get that push. I will be brutally honest. I haven't seen enough Impact on the road to Hard to Kill. I'm gonna, by the turn of the year, Deanna Price and Mickey James again. I want that to main event the next show, and the first ever women's X Division Ultimate X match. That's going to be really cool to see as well. So for me, those two matches are really stand out for Hard to Kill. So yeah, I'm really excited for that show. But I hope Black Taurus does get a move up the card. He definitely deserves it. He's a top talent. And he says, great stream. Maybe join early next time. Definitely. This was quite last minute today. I decided about 2 hours before that I was going to come and do it, put the thumbnail on and everything like that. Usually I'm a bit more subscribers know, but I just wanted to get back in, see how it would go. Surprised they've been here for as long as I have been, to be honest, and I appreciate everyone that has been sticking around. And also, Briscoes versus FTR at Revolution, please. I would not argue with that. So thank everyone that has been watching. I really appreciate everyone that has been involved. And just to clarify then on those last bits, for any bits that were lagging earlier on in the video, you can just get those little bits thrown in the video. Hangman Adam Page and Bryan Danielson, I thought was pretty darn awesome. I can't wait for the rematch. Loving how Danielson's been booked in AEW. Hangman, it plays that storyline so perfectly. The guy can just turn around and say, look, you know, is he going to doubt himself now as world champion? That's a storyline I'd be keen on seeing. It definitely keeps that going, because otherwise you're going to get bored of Hangman Adam Page. You might turn on it. And this, for me, I'm going to swear, it feels pretty cowboy shit to me. And we will probably not have to wait as long for the rematch with these two as we probably will do with Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega, which have to turn babyface. This match could be at Revolution, could be a main event. Maybe it's a gimmick match that makes it so it doesn't last an hour. Do you know what? A bull rope match would be pretty cool to see, wouldn't it? Because we've not had one of them. That's just come off the top of the brain there. Tony Khan, please watch these videos. A bull rope match is something I've not seen for a long time. Could work really well for Hangman's gimmick. I think it could really work. Also, we mentioned about more AEW debut. Black thing is expected he's going to be signing with the company, and as well also said now Malachi Black had this fantastic video package last week and said that Brody King, or whoever was that masked person, it's Brody King, you're more than just a king now. That for me, I think works really well. I was a big fan of his work in ROH, seeing that brief work in NWA as well. Really would love to see it. And Carl, in some capacity, Adam Cole said they had a present for Christmas for Holiday Bash. I think Kyle O'Reilly is coming in. I think that one is a done deal as well, if you want my personal opinion. More will be coming in, and like you said there, the Briscoes a minute ago, I think that will come in the near future. And last but not least, of course, day one is a great idea. And again, just to give my thoughts on this, been working that well for the longest time in WWE. And for me personally, I think that the last meaningful one I can remember, it's 2012 when Dolph Ziggler beat John Cena at TLC. TLC should mean something as a concept, as a match. We've got Money in the Bank earlier in the year, which can bring in tables and chairs if they want to. So they don't need this pay-per-view. December pay-per-views have not meant a lot for a while. It's a quite lull moment for WWE in the calendar year. Look at day one. Look at the place it's positioned. It's on a Saturday evening. It's a transition for WWE in 2022. It's great to see that day one is going to be the first pay-per-view on a Saturday night. It may boost it up. And to be fair, after New Year's Eve, we've all been partying. We've all been out. What happens the next day on January 1st? Well, yes, you might be with family, you might be with kids, you might be with your partners, but you know what? Usually there's not a lot to do. Places might be, you can't go out anywhere. We've done everything in front of the TV and have some great quality entertainment. WWE is giving us day one. It's like New Year's Revolution all over again. I think this could be good. And to make it work even better, put a stacked card on it. What have they done? They've put some big matches. Roman versus Brock. It doesn't need to be done at the Royal Rumble. The Rumble matches sell that pay-per-view. This works really well for this event for people to care and be invested. And if you put a big time finish and a big time end into it, like, I don't know, a Paul Heyman double turn, say he's going to be on Brock's side. It's a swerve all along. He's with Roman, and Brock goes, "Right, I know where I'm going here going forward." That makes perfect sense of why this then will be remembered as a big time deal. You've got the Fatal 4-Way with Big E, Seth Rollins, Lashley, KO. Going to be pretty darn awesome. And of course, like I say, you've got other matches on the card. Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan. You've got the New Day versus the Usos. We've got some great matches on this card. So for me, day one, it's a great idea. And I think the WWE doing the right move by putting it in. But that's all from me. We've hit the hour mark. Thank you for everyone that's been watching. Please like anything you've been watching, especially been on delay. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below right now. Any topic that's been discussed on this live stream. Thank you for watching as always. I've been SCW. You've been fantastic. It's been great to see you, and I'll see you all very, very soon. It's great to be back doing another live Q&A. Have yourselves a great one, and I'll see you for SCW, Ask SCW on Sunday. I'm going to have tomorrow off because it's my birthday, so I'm going to sit and enjoy and celebrate instead of a bit of SmackDown. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.